Hey y'all, welcome back to MovementLink. So I want to spend a few minutes here talking about the immune system. So this is something, especially right now, we're going through the COVID-19 pandemic. So especially right now, this is extremely important, but this is something we talk about over and over and over again. So the thing that we see all the time is people aren't drilling down deep enough into the root causes of stuff, and whether that be technique in the gym, drilling down to the root causes of their movement dysfunction, or drilling down with their health to the root causes of what's going on. So something that's huge that everyone's talking about right now, and what the data is kind of suggesting at this point, is that if you have a chronic condition, you are way more susceptible to have issues if you end up contracting COVID-19. So that's the unfortunate thing. Chronic conditions like heart disease, diabetes, metabolic syndrome. So there's so many of them. If you have one of those, it puts you at higher risk of mortality and just complications with COVID-19. But honestly, it's with any virus and any sickness. So what people aren't talking about is what causes these chronic conditions. And I know I've talked about it a lot on this channel, but the thing to keep in mind is 50%, and this is according to the CDC, 50% of Americans have a chronic disease. That is a lot. The other interesting thing is that 14% of chronic disease are based on genetic factors. And again, this is according to the CDC too. 86% of chronic disease is based on environmental and behavioral. So basically, how you act, how you live, your lifestyle choices, those are ultimately going to determine if you're developing these chronic diseases, and these chronic diseases are depleting your immune system and also putting you at higher risk. But also, if it's not just the fact that you have a chronic disease, it's the things that you're doing that might have caused the chronic disease are also the things that might cause the complications. So I don't want you to misunderstand. It is absolutely possible to have a chronic disease, health issues, and all of these things without doing anything wrong. That is absolutely possible. I just want you to know that regardless of what's going on, there's some of it that's out of your control. Some of it is in your control, and possibly a whole lot of it is in your control. So regardless, you should be doing everything you can to create that foundation of health and wellness. And then when this stuff kicks in, you know, what happens, happens. But we want to control as much as we can control. So how do we do this? What are we looking at? So this is the pyramid we talk about all the time. So we have exercise, we have nutrition, we have sleep, and we have non-exercise activity. All of this works together to create what we call path results. And this is performance, aesthetics, tissue and joint health, and overall health and wellness. So if we're looking to boost the immune system and we're really looking to be safe, social distancing and all these other practices are absolutely the things we should be doing. But you got to take your health into your own hands, and you got to start building up that buffer zone and just living healthy. So the joke, and to be honest, I'm getting sick of everyone joking about the quarantine 15 or the quarantine 19, whatever you want to call it. This is the time that we shouldn't be sitting at home doing nothing and just eating. This is the time that we need to be safe. We need to social distance. We need to do all these expert recommended things, but we have to be putting our health as a priority in case we're coming in contact with COVID-19, in case we're actually getting it. We want to have as big of a buffer zone as possible for this. So what are we talking about? Exercise. We say 3 to 5 days a week, something that elevates your heart rate, something that's hard, something that is functional to your goals. Nutrition. We want you to eat real food, non-inflammatory foods. We want you to eat mostly plants. We want you to eat real healthy meat. So don't be scared of these things. It looks a lot like a paleo diet. It's not a paleo diet. And then when we're doing our momentum program, we have some additional things we throw in there specific to weight loss. but those are things we're not going to get in. Just I want to point out nutrition plays such a huge role. Sleep. This is the easiest one. This one supports everything else here. So sleep. 8 or more hours a night. Don't put too much pressure on actually being asleep. Put pressure on your pre-sleep routines. Got a lot of videos about that. And allow yourself to be able to get those 8 hours of sleep. If you got to wake up at 6 a.m., you're going to bed at 12, you're not allowing yourself that 8 hours of sleep. Non-exercise activity. This is going to be movement throughout the day, accumulating 10,000 steps. When it's business as usual here at the gym, I don't wear a step counter because I get between 20 and 25,000 steps a day. We recommend everyone try and get 10,000 steps a day. But now that we've been at home and quarantine and stuff like that, I've got a step counter so I can make sure that I'm actually being active throughout the day. And I don't just sit there standing at my desk on my computer all day working, and I actually get out and move around. So all of this stuff contributes so much to your immune system. Other things that contribute to your immune system is exposure to sunlight. So we'll just put D3, vitamin D3. So especially as people are spending more time indoors working, especially if you're in parts of the world where it's just harder to get outside, your skin color plays a big role in this. There's a reason that people that live closer to the equator typically have darker skin, and people who live closer to the poles typically have lighter skin. And our body needs sunlight. The only way you can get vitamin D is through sunlight or through supplementing with vitamin D3. And so the darker skin, if you're near the equator, the darker skin helps not get sunburned because you're so close. But if you're further from the equator, the lighter skin helps absorb more sunlight because it's harder to get sunlight. So now that we live in a world where people travel all over the place and you have dark skin and light skin everywhere, especially if you're someone who is darker skinned, living somewhere with not a lot of sun exposure, you really have to look out for this. And then obviously if you're lighter skinned and you're living somewhere that's hot, closer to the equator, then you gotta look out for sunburns and that kind of stuff. So anyway, vitamin D3 is extremely important. Dr. Rhonda Patrick, she's been on the Joe Rogan podcast a bunch. She has a website, Found My Fitness. She is an amazing person. She's awesome. But anyway, and I might mess up the exact quotes here, but they're doing COVID-19 studies, and in the Philippines, I think it was, 96% of the people who had complications with COVID-19 were deficient in D3. I forget how many Americans are deficient in vitamin D3, but it is a huge number. So the interesting thing with vitamin D3, you can only get it through the sun, and you can only, or you can supplement vitamin D3. And then with a lot of Americans deficient in it, the interesting thing is you can overdose on it, but you're pretty unlikely to overdose if you're taking reasonable amounts. So how do you know what a reasonable amount is? Instead of me giving you any nutrition or specific health advice here, what I would tell you to do is there's a website, examine.com. This website is incredible, but you can get on examine.com. You can look at how to dose. You can look at what the research looks like. It cites everything. This is usually when somebody tells me, oh, have you tried this? Or this is what I'm doing. If it's something I haven't heard of and haven't kind of gotten into and researched a lot of, my first place just to go get the big picture idea of if what they're telling me has any merit is I go straight to examine.com. So check out vitamin D3. Other things that can boost your immune system here. Calcium. So calcium's an interesting one. This is another one. Hop on examine.com. Hop on Found My Fitness with Dr. Rhonda Patrick. She's been talking about it. But there's been a big debate on if calcium is beneficial or not. And so what they're kind of seeing is that low doses of calcium barely do anything, but really extremely high doses of calcium may actually have a benefit to help avoid getting sick, but also if you're sick, recovering from sickness quicker. So I'm not going to give you any specifics on on grams or the difference between oral and intravenous calcium. But examine.com, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, those are great resources. Other things, same answers. Magnesium, that's something to look into. So those are going to be kind of on the supplement side. This would be the one that I would recommend you look into, talk to your doctor about. This would be the one just for kind of general health altogether, but also for immune function would be a big one to look at. So the other things that can help your immune system is going to be just hot and cold therapy. So saunas. If you're living here in Austin, it's super hot, so working out hot outside. So basically the heat causes you to release heat shock. Somewhere in there is the word shock. Proteins. Heat shock proteins have been shown to improve cardiovascular endurance, muscle mass, longevity. They've boost your immune system. There's so many benefits to heat shock proteins. You can get them through a sauna. Just heat stress is really what does it. So the other thing is there's cold shock proteins. Same thing, have big boost to the immune system. So ice baths, cryotherapy, cold showers, jumping in Barton Springs. I think it's closed right now, but that's a local cold, natural, spring-fed pool here in Austin, Texas. Other things that we can do. Oop, I just had it in my head and I forgot. Give me a second. Maybe it'll come to me here. Stress. There we go. All right. So huge. And this kind of spins back around to sleep. Two things that just deplete your immune system incredibly is lack of sleep. You're just instantly the next day more susceptible, and stress. It just crushes. And I know, especially now, and this is kind of just like the ironic, terrible thing about what's going on with people losing jobs, with the unknown, the uncertainty, people dealing with sick family members, all of these just terrible things going on. Stress is much higher than usual, and then that just kind of perpetuates the issue here. So these are just things to keep in mind, things you can do: meditate, breathing exercises, exercise. All these things kind of help reduce stress. So really, my goal here with this video is just to kind of point out there is so much that we don't know yet, but the things that we do know is the foundation for what we should be doing all the time, but especially when we're in the middle of a pandemic and your immune system is your first and biggest and most powerful line of defense. We have to be doing things that boost that immune system. The good news here is the things that boost your immune system are going to boost performance, aesthetics, it's going to make you look better, tissue and joint health, and the overall health and wellness. So these are things that we would need to get put in place anyway. And it's stuff we want to do day in, day out for the rest of our lives, regardless of if we're in a pandemic or not, but especially because of the times we're in now. We got to attack this stuff. We got to make sure that we're prioritizing our own health and safety. And think about it this way. It's not just for you. If you boost your immune system enough to fight off a certain amount of viral load and you don't contract it, you're not there to pass it on either. So this is super important. I hope this helps. Hang in there. Talk to y'all soon.